top 12 tax scams. Plus, how exactly does a portfolio manager make decisions about what companies to own? Those are our topics for this morning's program here on Dollars and Cents. Welcome to the program. We're Central Florida's longest running radio program, helping Central Floridians make sense out of all of those different decisions that have anything and everything to do with your dollars. As our good friend Bud Hedinger introduces us, we like to welcome you to the program as well. My name is Joel Garris. I am a certified financial planner and certified financial fiduciary at Nelson Financial Planning, where our team of certified financial fiduciaries stands ready this very week to help you change your life with a successful financial plan that provides you with peace of mind. But before we get to the dirty dozen, if you will, tax scams that the IRS puts out, shockingly, they do that every year, and every year they have to keep updating it. We wanted to share with you a story that developed as a result of a client event that we were actually able to do. As many of you know, we host a series of quarterly events each year, and we also do additional events. And one of those additional events is a shred day. Well, obviously, we're not having a bunch of people in a ballroom for dinner anytime soon. Haven't had one of those since January because of all of this COVID stuff. We switched those to phone calls, and we still, though, wanted to at least have something, to be able to do something. And so we landed on our shred day, which we had done in the past. And so we said, okay, well, it's shred day. Everybody's stuck at home, and they're cleaning things out, and certainly they're going to have plenty of stuff that needs to get disposed of. And so we combined shredding documents with properly disposing of computer equipment, computer hardware, things like that. We have an IT guy in who kind of takes care of that part. And so we have the big shred truck. So that was the event that we said, okay, you know what? We're comfortable doing that because we'll just make it sort of a drive-by thing, right? You drive up, stay in your car, open up the trunk, we take the stuff out of the trunk, we take care of it all for you. So had great participation this year as we did in past years. And so what we did was we also kind of combined a grab and go lunch, right, to get at least something, if you will, that felt normal in terms of how we typically do things in terms of client events. So we had a grab and go lunch. A caterer was there to help with that, and so all went very smoothly. And so the story that we really want to delve into this morning is one of the folks that came didn't want to shred a particular document. They wanted to give it to me. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure why I'm getting this, your stuff that you're supposed to be shredding, but they gave it to me. And I'm so glad they did, because here's what it was. It was, and we've got a copy of it right here on the table. It was their account application, and their transaction. We're holding them up for the video for the folks on YouTube, but we're not showing names. Their account opening and their account transaction statement from June 12th of 1989. This account statement was their opening one, and it was when they just started to invest. They took $150. That's all they had. $150. They bought 19.841 shares, and this particular fund at that point was $7.56. So they bought almost 20 shares, $7.50. In 1989, the gentleman was 31, and his wife was 28, and they had, at that point, a 4-year-old daughter, just starting out. She was a school teacher, he was a computer guy. Matter of fact, a few years later, probably more years later than that, but he actually developed our first website when we were known as Nelson Investment Planning Services. So that was all they had. They were just starting out, but they stuck with it. And They put in what they could and they stayed consistent. By establishing that systematic investment of $150 that they did in June of 1989, they kept at it and they kept building that. And every time they would get an increase in income, they would correspondingly increase how much they were saving. So what's really neat about this whole story, from that beginning back in 1989 when they first joined our firm as clients, today, well, they're older, as is everybody. He's now 62 and she's 59, and they're looking to retire with an investment portfolio that is close to $3 million. Stop and think about that for just a second. Started with 150, young daughter, normal jobs, just putting in what they could. But doing it every month, being systematic on it, being intentional on it, and just a great story. The fund that they invested in, still investing in too, by the way, that was $7.56 a share, well, that's now $150 a share. That's the power of long-term investing. Things over time go up, because after all, their portfolio was one of stocks. So in fact, you can still own the same fund, and they still do, and they're still adding to it, except it's not $7.56 anymore. It's now like close to $150 a share. So because it's a large cap growth fund. And so we were standing there at the office and outside and sort of reminiscing about all of that. And certainly a neat story as we work with them to transition to that next phase as they shift into retirement. But what's interesting about that, what's interesting and really kind of neat about seeing that power of time, that power of compounding, is there's really a slew of observations that we can make about this story and about this couple. And that's what makes it interesting, I think, is that they didn't start out with much, right? I mean, $150 a month, I mean, folks can generally find $150 a month. That's not, you don't need to start out with tens of thousands of dollars. $150 a month is what these people started out with. Fast forward since 1989 to 2020, and it's 31 years in their portfolio, $3 million. Obviously, they increased their contributions along the way, but there's an important concept. When you're young, you're not going to start out with $3 million. You're going to start out with what you have. And the reality is, you can start out with a small amount, like $150. So they didn't start out with much. That's number one. Second observation, they weren't the CEO. They weren't some inventor of the next best thing since sliced bread. Just normal jobs. She was a school teacher. He was an IT guy. Normal people, normal jobs. Nothing significant. Didn't inherit a bunch of money. Didn't win the lottery. Just normal people doing normal stuff. They stuck with it. They 1989, $150 a month. They stuck with it. Regular investing, putting money in on a regular basis, using the concept of systematically investing your money to help dollar cost average your investments. That ultimately helps to smooth out investment volatility on a regular basis. Most importantly, well, one of the more important parts of this conversation, they had time in, not timing. Think about that. They were age 28 and 31, started with $150 a month, now have an investment portfolio of $3 million. Think of all the events that happened since 1989, right? 1989, that's a lot. That's like 8 presidential elections, just to put it in a little perspective with what's going on today. The next observation, they regularly increase their savings. And this is the part that I think sometimes gets lost. They regularly increase their savings. As their pay went up, they increased how much they were saving. And then they owned a diversified portfolio of stocks. Yes, you do have to own stocks to achieve growth over time. That's what it comes down to. They owned a highly diversified portfolio of stocks. And then lastly, most importantly, this too can be you. This too can be you. Stop and think about that. This is an incredibly successful retirement in front of this couple. At a relatively early age, 62 and 59, to retire. So what are the ingredients? What are the ingredients for that successful retirement? It's not magic. It's not looking for some mysterious investment that's going to get you there overnight. It's consistency. It's starting early, saving often and regularly, staying consistent, and owning diversified portfolio stocks. There you have it. You want a successful retirement? You want a successful retirement at an early age? Get started. You don't need much to get started. This is a great, great story that we had an opportunity to share with you on the program this morning as a result of having that shred day and having them bring their original statement. $7.56 a share. Now it's $150. The power of time, the power of compounding. Just an incredible story that really underscores the keys to a successful retirement. We're going to take a break. We come back. We're doing the Dirty Dozen tax scams coming up next on Dollars and Cents.